Recently there's been speculation regarding Sonic X Shadow Generations being rewritten, redubbed, and reanimated. I've watched a few YouTubers discuss this at length, and I've noticed all of them have missed a crucial element. We already know the game is being redubbed, and I have evidence that no one else has provided yet. Let's talk about that. Ian Flynn is the writer of Shadow Generations. Originally, Sonic Generations was written by Ken Pontac and Warren Graf. Ian has been a writer for the franchise since the Archie comics, and then making his way to IDW, and now the games, starting with Sonic Frontiers. While Ken and Warren have only written during the 2010 era of the franchise, which in terms of character writing and interesting stories, they fell off so hard. They changed how characters acted and barely made stories. Sonic Generations was one of the most subpar plots as it was very unfinished, and the thing that carried the game was the gameplay. Ian Flynn, I haven't read a lot of his issues in Archie, but I did read some of IDW. I haven't read since the Zomba arc ended, but from what I read, I really liked it. Sonic Frontiers I felt was a better step in the right direction. While I don't think everything in the writing was perfect, like the Chaos Emeralds being from space, and while I liked the callbacks to the previous games, sometimes it did overstay its welcome. But overall, Ian Flynn is a step in the right direction in terms of writing, and what we've seen so far with Shadow Generations thanks to trailers of the game, and even Dark Beginnings, everything is looking fantastic. A little bit ago, this tweet emerged from @SpeedingInMania, and it stated that Sonic Generations is getting a redub and was being rewritten by Ian Flynn to go in line with the new stuff we're getting in the remaster and to make Shadow Generations match more with Sonic Generations. If this is true, it would mean that they'd need to reanimate scenes in the game to match the new content, and a new dub with lip syncing. We've seen 2 cutscene screenshots provided to us showing the change. One with classic Sonic and modern Sonic in the white space fist bumping at a different camera angle than how it was in the original game. So why go the effort of changing the camera angle in this scene? Clearly this means something bigger is happening here, right? Well, some could argue that's just for promos, but anytime cutscenes have been used for promos in the past, the screenshots have always matched up with the final game. The only time that's ever the case is in-game screenshots and sometimes in trailers. The other screenshot we got is when Sonic's friends are surprising him at his birthday with a party, and the new change was with the addition of the Chow with the exception of cheese. Compared to Sonic Colors Ultimate, they actually went back and redid the cutscenes. We haven't seen a cutscene play from Sonic Generations yet, which there may be a good reason for. I'd also like to imagine that with the new addition of the Chow at Sonic's birthday party, some of the characters who were already in the scene will at least interact with them rather than ignoring them. On the topic of Sonic's birthday party, with episode 2 of Dark Beginnings just releasing, we finally saw Omega, and Omega was absent in Sonic Generations, but I believe the birthday party at the end of the game will at least feature Omega now. In my previous video, I discussed Sonic X Shadow Generations having a final story. If that's the case, I think the birthday party at the end will be a part of the final story. New players may play Sonic Generations before Shadow Generations, so that may even get the ending spoiled if we see Omega at the party, so to keep this in a separate final story would make sense. Speaking of Sonic's birthday party, Azuka has said that Shadow Generations will tie into Sonic Generations at certain points of the story, so there's every chance Maria could even attend Sonic's birthday party. I have another video on Maria coming out soon, so look out for that. Now let's discuss the evidence for why I think the rewrite is on the cards that others haven't discussed yet. Before we get into that though, let's take a look at the scale of the rewriting. A lot of people have interpreted the original tweet as a full-blown rewrite, but personally I don't believe this to be the case. The evidence I have supporting a rewrite is Omochao. A few months ago, we heard Omochao in the tutorial for Sonic Generations, and Omochao has some new dialogue. This is a very minor scale rewrite, but it's there at least, so that means there could be other elements they've touched upon here. So yes, on a technicality, with Omochao having redubbed lines, the game has already been rewritten in a minor degree, and this is something we could see throughout the game, with some characters having minor line changes, or having new voice actors dub over the previous voice actors. I think Sonic Generations will need to be slightly rewritten for Shadow. Shadow in the final boss isn't particularly interesting. A lot of people online back when Sonic Generations came out mocked his "You got this, Sonic" line, and I thought it was cringy, so hopefully this can be changed. But with everything going on with Shadow, with his traumatic experience seeing Maria and Gerald again, he has to hope Sonic is going to fix the timeline by killing the Time Eater. But I really can't see Shadow just standing and watching after what we're seeing him go through. He has to help fix the timeline, so it would be really odd to play through Shadow Generations and then watch him return to be the background character. I really encourage you to watch my final story video on this to understand my point further. I strongly believe the way the game is being marketed is teasing a final story. Every Sonic game that has Shadow playable in the base game has a final story. So SA2, Hero, Shadow the Hedgehog, 06. So it would be surprising to not get one here. And if we do get a final story, then we obviously have a rewrite. To see more on what I think about a final story, check out my Does Sonic X Shadow Generations Have a Final Story video. I will leave a link in the description, and I'll even leave a card in the corner. Off topic, but we're going to see Sonic and Shadow fight one another from each perspective. Something we saw in Sonic Adventure 2, but in each story, the character you play as is the one that wins. And we're going to see this again. I feel like the parallel here is also teasing a final story. Ultimately, a lot of people have interpreted this tweet in their own way. Some believing Sonic Generations is being completely rewritten, and some believing it could be completely false. But as I said previously, Omochao having new lines and a redub does technically count as Sonic Generations being rewritten. So this tweet, in my eyes, is correct. Do I think this will go any further? Well, with my theory of the final story, I have to say yes. But I still think the only ending of the game will be rewritten, with Sonic's story ending differently, and then everything that happened at the birthday party being at the ending of the final story. I don't think this is a full-blown rewrite. Sonic Generations will likely play out the same as it did before, with the ending being changed if there's a final story. Now, do I want a full-blown rewrite? Well, yes, really. Sonic Generations had a lot of potential to go far with the story. Like how Shadow Generations is really exploring Shadow's character arc and even giving him closure. The depth the story is going is unlike anything we've seen before in the franchise. It's exploring his gruesome past, so this is something that could be done with Sonic. I don't feel like the original Sonic Generations even had a story. You could just kind of play through each level and defeat bosses with not much consequence, whereas Shadow Gens, it's exploring the consequences on an individual with time travel as they revisit their past. But what do you guys think? Do you think Sonic Generations is being rewrite? Do you think it needs a rewrite? Let me know in the comments below, and yeah, we'll just go from there. So I thank you all for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on all my social media pages, which will be linked in the description down below. And I will see you all in the next video. So until then, take care. Bye bye.